Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the show where a real statistics professor gives you sports betting tips. This is college basketball for Tuesday, January 2nd. Jake, we're into the new year. We're mostly into conference play, although we're going to talk about a non-conference team here right in the middle. But this is your time of year now that we've mostly put college football behind us and we're really winding down on the NFL. This is your favorite 3 months, right?
Yes. Like it does not get better than these 3 months. And I mean, Tuesday, not the greatest, but after that, the ball really gets rolling.
This isn't a terrible slate. I feel like
No.
Obviously we didn't do a show for Monday with New Year's stuff, and there were only 4 games, and they were all garbage anyway. So no one wanted to mess with that for the most part. But we do have 3 games talking about here on the free show, 3 more on the extended cut. Again, we are unveiling. We talked about this last week. Kind of our best bets, and I say coming soon, simply because I haven't coded in how to pull all that in yet. I'll work on that, and so I'll have the recap coming from that. But last week, just very ho-hum, not really exciting. I mean, money lines went 50-50, and with as many dogs as favorites that broke even. Totals, I mean, 22 and 20 is literally break even at that point. The show picks weren't great, but again, we always talk about, we're doing just a limited sample here of what we offer on the show. And that's why we always talk about the play of the day, which, while it wasn't great last week between sides and totals, 2 and 3 overall at 17%. And the A grades are doing pretty well here overall. Still would like them to do better, but if this is bad, then I guess that's good. If this is our bad A grade money lines and totals, and hopefully our best bets. We get our best bets. We've got 7 of them here right now for Tuesday. We're going to talk about 6 of them, and the 7th is the play of the day. And if you want to get those best bets, if you want to get all the A grades, if you want to get all the charts, all the everythings that we provide over at Dub Club, you get $5 off your first month by using the promo code BOOT. I had fun with that, making up a completely random promo code. And you can scan the QR code there on screen to get all of those goodies. But Jake, otherwise, let's get right to it here. Vermont and Brown. Vermont's solid. Brown is not. They do play good defense, but that offense is what is going to hurt them. Vermont is favored. They obviously should be favored. Jake, the biggest question we have in a game like this, when you see a team like Vermont favored by a little bit, is, are they favored by too much, or are they not favored by enough? And in this case, the model thinks they aren't favored by enough. We've taken a pretty good mixture of dogs and favorites here on the money line. We got some minus plays. We got some plus plays. Again, we're only doing 3 picks here on the free show. So apologies if you don't like favorites, but again, we're only doing 3. We got totals as well. We do have some A grade dogs over on Dub Club. But going through and picking our best bets, what we like the most, this one was one of the B grades that got your attention, Jake, and you're looking at minus 194, thinking this should be a lot higher, that the probability that Vermont wins should be enough to make this a profitable long-term play. Again, unfortunately, we only get 1 game, so you never know what's going to happen in 1 game. We aren't trying to be soothsayers and say exactly what's going to happen. What we're trying to say is model thinks Vermont wins this 7 out of 10 times. Jake, you might even think it's a little bit higher than that. And if so, that makes minus 194 a good play. The difference between, we've talked about this before, but if you're newer here, the difference between sharp and square is not the pick, it's the price. We're thinking minus 194, a reasonable investment, worth your play here on Tuesday night. Minus 300, that wouldn't be. But minus 194, starting with a 1, hard to pass up, Jake. Tell us more.
Yeah, Vermont and John Becker is just one of the more consistent teams out there from style and even level of play. I mean, this is one of the weaker Vermont teams, but it's still not terrible. They're good. And Brown has 0 offense. There's nothing they do well. I mean, you've got them ranked 314 on offense.
Bad.
Ken Palm's got him at 311, and I think that's the highest I've seen him out there from an offensive standpoint. And that's not you got to score to win games, and they just don't do that. Especially not against good teams. And Vermont's got a pace and a defense that's pretty much on par with what Brown has, but with the pace they want to play offensively and defensively, that's so many less opportunities for Brown to score. And with a bad offense that's not efficient, doesn't make free throws, doesn't rebound, doesn't do anything, it's going to be really hard to win a game. So I think Vermont should be much more heavily favored.
And I want to clarify, I think, to elaborate on what you just said, I think what you were trying to say there is that Vermont plays really slow and has a decent defense and thus does not allow a lot of points because of the tempo. Whereas Brown doesn't score a lot of points, not because their tempo, but because their offense. I think what you were kind of trying to say is now you take that combination of slower pace that Vermont's going to really try to grind this game too in Brown's offense, and it's like going to be an interaction effect of even fewer points than what we would have expected. So I think that I want to make sure they didn't get lost in the shuffle there of what you were trying to communicate to our viewers. And of course, as you can see there on the screen, if you're with us on YouTube, the best unit on the court, according to Sideline, is Vermont's offense. So this is just all Vermont here. They're on the road, but it's not like it's the longest road trip. This is one of those where you look at the records and it does kind of tell the story. It doesn't always, especially in college basketball. But in this one, you get a 9-5 Vermont team. It's just a lot better than the 4-10 Brown team. Don't get cute here. We do like taking a lot of home teams, but this is not one where that makes a lot of sense at this price. At the right price, we would take anybody. And we always preach there's a number. You should take every situation. It's just in this case, that leads us to the favorite in Vermont. And just as a reminder of the benefits that you can get over on Dub Club, this is what we provide for every single college basketball game as part of the cheat sheet. We also provide this in chart form for all the games, so you can kind of easily digest it in one picture without the words. But if you kind of want to scroll through here, you can see the types of stuff we're providing with pace, offensive efficiency, defensive efficiency, like we show on screen there, the probability they win, what the A-grade money line price would be, what we think the point spread would be, what we think the total should be, and the team totals. She's got a lot of information here for every single college basketball game that's being played between any of the 362 Division I teams. So again, lots of benefits. Check it out over there on Dub Club. See if you like it. We try to provide you with all the bang for your buck that we can. Which will take us to Cornell at my Baylor Bears. Jake, I believe we are unveiling the new stadium, so the crowd should be rocking here in a beautiful new arena on the other side of I-35 there in Waco. A Cornell team that is all offense, no defense, all pace, and a Baylor team that's all offense, kind of no defense. And not necessarily the fastest place, but they enjoy a fast game. Sideline says 172.6. This is being priced at 166. We're going to go over it. Jake, the model has done a good job overall with overs, such that these A-grade overs, you could blind play all of them to be profitable. Now, if you could find the best ones, you're doing even better. If you could find the landmines to avoid, you're doing even better. That's what we're trying to do with our best bets here, where we're kind of pulling all of our heads together, you, me, and Cousin Jared. But even if you're not doing that, the reason why I think the model's done well with these overs is we've long talked about the rule change, the extra eligibility, the offense being better, etc. There's a lot of situations where the books, they know to go higher. They don't know how much to go higher in some of these situations. There's a lot of large numbers that we won't touch. There's a lot of large numbers we'll go under as well. This is one where, according to the model, and again, it's been largely successful on aggregate, this number should be even higher, that Cornell playing their game is going to go fast. Baylor doesn't really seem intent on slowing anything down. Baylor should be able to score at will, especially if there is any home court advantage here to this new arena that's boosted than usual, given they've got a top 10 offense. Where they struggle is on defense. And of course, Cornell's the weakest. Defense is the weakest unit on the court. I think Baylor scores a lot. Cornell, with their pace, they're going to score plenty too. This should be a fun, high-scoring game. We're going to go over 166 A-grade quality. What that means is the discrepancy means we're not more, we want to put a little bit more on it because we think in the long run, these are the types of picks that have a slightly higher success rate. That doesn't mean it's 100% success. It just means that we're a little bit more successful at these. So we put a little bit more on it. So in the long run, we end up with more money than we started with. Jake, what do you like about this over?
It's all about Cornell's pace and how they play. Baylor's going to be, Baylor's a much better team and all that. So it's not even a question there. It's just Cornell will absolutely fly up and down the floor because their defense is terrible. So Baylor's going to be able to score at will. and they just launch threes like crazy. They're absolutely terrible shooting, three-point shooting team. But they're one of the top three attempts per game. And they do well inside the arc. So they're the number one field goal percentage team inside the arc. So they can score. It's just they shoot way too many threes, and that's really holding them down. And I think Baylor's going to take so much advantage of that because threes or long rebounds are going to be with the guards they have with Ray J. Dennis and Jacoby Walter, Jaden Dunn. They're going to be able to fly up and down the court. Walter's going to, I think he's going to put on a show because he's NBA top tier kind of talent, and Cornell's not going to be able to get in his way. He might get us to the over by himself, but not really. But I just think this game flies over because Cornell wants to run and their defense is bad, and Baylor is more than happy to run with them.
This Baylor team really reminds me of Arizona, and I don't want to make sure because I'm not saying they're as good as Arizona. They're not, and their defense isn't as good as Arizona because it's not. But it's very similar in that while Arizona has the better defense, they have the faster pace. Baylor's pace is a little slower, but their defense is a little bit weaker. And that kind of balances out with regards to totals. It doesn't balance out with regards to how good they are. Again, obviously, Arizona's a better team. But with regards to totals, because Baylor's lack of defense, just like Arizona, where we talk about Arizona can put up 100 on any given night. And there was a reason that we've been playing their overs and been mostly successful with them, not every single game, but we've been playing them almost every game, and we've won way more than we haven't. But the last game that Arizona played, because their pace and their defense didn't have a great night, their opponent got to 100. And that's kind of with Baylor, the same thing. Like, their defense isn't good, so sometimes the opponent scores a lot. And you saw that in a game like the Michigan State game. Still got over despite Baylor not doing their part at all, only getting 64 points because they allowed 88. This Baylor team's got to 99 or more, I think 3 times, got in the upper 90s another time. So they can absolutely put up a ton of points, but their defense can sometimes give up some points. If Cornell gets hot, Cornell might get 90 points by themselves, and we could have an absolute barn burner, right? So, again, Baylor's a better team. They're at home. They should be favored. We think the spread's a little bit tougher to attack on this game. The money line's obviously out of the question on a spread like this for almost all of us to even mess with. But we think this total is priced too low, and that 170s is a more likely outcome than 160s. And even if it stays in the 160s, we got a lot of numbers in the 160s that could still win for us here, given that we're only playing over 166. So there's our A grade over, which takes us to the late night. And we've got another A grade play for you here in New Mexico and Colorado State. This one is a little bit more of a clash of styles with regards to pace. New Mexico, number 11 in the country, Colorado State, number 239. But as you can see, and there's the reason I put both the rank and the grade, where 100 is average and higher means more points, because you can see that Colorado State is below average, but not nearly by as much as New Mexico is above average. And so that's kind of the driving force. The other thing you have to look at is Colorado State's offense is really good. Number 15 in the country, their defense not good at all. So Colorado State is going to get you a lot of points because of their talent level on offense and lack thereof on defense. While New Mexico is going to get you a lot of points because of the pace. We're going to go over again. This one is off by almost a full 10 points, according to Sideline, as it projects a score in the mid-160s. We're going over 156.5, A-grade pick. Jake, I don't know where the line's going to go. I can't predict anything. My hunch is the Cornell-Baylor line won't get that much higher than 166. I think we're probably, whenever you play that, you're probably going to get a number right around there. This is one I would not be surprised if it closes a lot closer to 160. I really think there's a lot of room for this one to get higher. That's my perspective. Who knows if it'll happen, but we think this is way too low. Jake, tell us more.
Yeah, I'm so confused by why this is set where it's at, because Colorado State does have a slower-ish pace, but not that slow. And New Mexico offense is not getting as much respect. Everybody talks about them being a very good defensive team. They are that. I don't want to take that away from, but their offense is almost as much more impressive. They just absolutely do it, and they do it really without the three ball. They're one of the bottom 20 at shooting at percent of 3 points attempted. So they're just not. I don't know. They're just scoring. I mean, their defense really leads into their offense. Colorado State is just so efficient. Both these teams really had one game where they screwed up, and it just happened to be against St. Mary's. Where New Mexico did it on the road, but Colorado State did it at home, and they just I don't know. St. Mary's just figured both these teams out. And
St. Mary's had some really embarrassing losses, too. That's been a very confusing team. And I think we've said this all year, right, with St. Mary's. Just throw the game anybody plays against them out the window, because who the heck knows what is going on with that team.
Yeah, and I mean, the only other game that Colorado State scored lowish was the Creighton game, where they still won by 21, but they only put up 69 because they just didn't need to score, because Creighton was just didn't show up. But I think this game is going to fly over, and you should jump on this 150-ish, 156, 157, whatever you're seeing out there, number as quick as possible, because I think when people start diving into it, it's going to move up quite a bit.
Yeah, Colorado State played Loyola Marymount, and that game flew over the total of about 150. They played Denver, and that game got to 170. Now Denver is a more over type team with, of course, the way they play, but that can get to 170. And New Mexico, I would say, isn't that much different than Denver in the pace regard. Like Denver's a little bit more offensively skewed, but I mean, sure, that can get to 160, and you say, okay, well, Denver's going to be a little bit more of a higher scoring team than New Mexico because their talent level and skill on defense or lack thereof, right? You drop it 10 points, it still gets to 160 is what you would expect. So there's really just no reason, like you said, to think that this number should be this low. All the ingredients are there for a higher scoring game. Again, normal caveat, we never know what's going to happen in one game, and nobody in their right mind would have expected whatever the heck happened with Creighton and Colorado State in that game. That might be the most confusing game of the year just overall, because it wasn't just like an upset, because Colorado State's a solid team. It's how much they won by and the number of points, that was just completely crazy. But that was against a Creighton team that also likes to go slow, and Creighton scores because of their offensive efficiency. And if they aren't scoring, the pace isn't there, there's no possessions, and it at least, not that I would expect there's something that low scoring, but at least you could see how it went under, right? Whereas New Mexico is not wanting to play that style of game. And so when you look at Colorado State, they've played faster teams and they've gone over plenty of times despite their pace. Their pace is not the St. Mary's style pace, the Virginia pace that's going to drive everybody down. It's just a little bit below average, a few less possessions, but they make up for that with just an incredibly good offense. And so should be a fun contest here. It's always fun when the best and worst units belong to the same team, because that means you have a fairly competitive ball game. That's what we expect here, but we think there should be a lot of points, which makes it really interesting to watch. Late night contest over 156.5 for an A grade. And again, we've got 3 more games as part of our best bets, plus the play of the day. If you want to hear about that, you can listen to the extended cut, watch the extended cut. If you're with us on Dub Club, you'll have that link. And if you want to get $5 off your first month, there's the QR code to do it, or the sign-up link in the show description will get it for you. Jake, parting words before we take a 60-second pause and then talk more basketball.
Like, I'm just trying not to be too excited about Nico and what Tennessee did today to the Iowa team. I think we scored more points than Michigan did, who's going to the championship, on them. So I'm very happy about what's going to happen next few years as a football fan.
I was thinking about you as I was watching the first half of the game. I think I stopped watching halftime because I think we all knew it was over. So we were moving on from that. Otherwise, again, hopefully, though, we see you on the other side of the break for more college basketball. And if not, we'll see you tomorrow.